Water, roll call.
Mr. Caffrey. Present. Mr. Evans. Present. Mr. Llewellyn. Here. Ms. Kansas.
Present.
Mr. Quinn.
Here.
Dr. Susick. Absent. Ms. Thomas.
Here.
Reverend Walker.
Here.
Mr. Elmy.
Present.
We have 8 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. The chair wishes to announce that the board held an executive session prior to the regular board meeting of September 14, 2015. The subject to discuss in executive session relates only to matters of employee relations, labor negotiations, and or actual threatened litigation. A motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 10, 2015, and dispense with the reading of those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Katzak, second by Ms. Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Treasury report, June 30, 2015.
To the President and members of the Wilkes-Barre Area Board of Education, the Treasurer, submits the following report for acceptance and audit. Cash balances for the month ending June 30th, 2015, general fund is $18,120,438.04. Special revenue funds is $506,571.51. Trust agency funds is $3,507,480.99. Food service fund, $1,950,098.43. And debt service fund, $9,281.68.
Motion. Motion by Ms. Thomas, second by Mr. Evans. Roll call.
Mr. Caffrey?
Yes.
Mr. Evans? Yes. Ms. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Ms. Kansas?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Reverend Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Elmy?
Yes.
Have 80 yes, for motion carries.
Thank you. Any unfinished business? Communications from the superintendent.
Yes, Mr. Elmy, this evening I'd like to let the citizens speak first, and then I'd like to present a summary with my available time. And at that time, I may be able to address some of the questions that have come up with our citizens at this time. So I appreciate that right to reserve that right, that place after the citizens speak. Okay.
Communications from the citizens.
Yes, Mr. President, we have several people presenting this evening. The first is Bob Holden, who would like to speak about school closing. My name is Mr. Holden, everyone else have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Hello, Bob Holden. It's good to see you all. I'm here today because I've been going around asking for opinions from people that are around my neighborhood. And opinions, questions, anything that they might have that I could bring to you guys and maybe you can address. Now the one that I got is, what is the master plan for the elementary schools? The feasibility study says that they require $100 million in repairs. Are we going to be in the same position 5 years, 10 years down the line? With our only option being to merge them into one mega elementary school? Now right now Kistler needs a roof. I'm reading his words right now. Will we be told Kistler is unstable because of the deterioration? That's just the first question. Now the second question I have is, I've heard rumors, I don't know how true that they are, that Cochran's going to be closing early because of a heating issue. I'd love for that to be addressed. I have another one here. Is there any truth to the rumor that Wilkes-Barre School District is interested in buying the Times Leader building? And the last one I wanted to ask is, how will the district get around the approvable size of 35 acres and the Pennsylvania Act 1949? I may have said that wrong. I apologize for that. And before you answer, I'd like to say I understand that you guys are in a very compromising position, and it puts you guys in it's a rock and a hard place. You're just trying to do what you think is right. I have no issues with you personally. I just vehemently disagree with what you're doing. I think you're very good people, but I don't think I have all the answers. But I think together we could come up with answers to make it right, because the way the plan is now, we're going to end up with the same amount of schools. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. elementary schools.
Okay.
Coughlin, one of your questions was a heating situation. I'm not aware of that whatsoever.
Okay.
So that's not an issue. I don't know if
It's gonna close early.
you want to contribute to.
Is it closing early?
Clearly the master maintenance plan that's been prepared by our construction manager is something that will follow, the board will follow to address the issues with regard to all of our existing structures. There will be plenty of review, and we'll call it triage of that list to determine which things should be done first and in what order. But this board is committed by the commissioning of that plan to address all of the facilities in the district to try to prevent our existing quality structures from becoming structures that are in condition of quality.
Where's that plan?
Bob, to answer your question about the time leader, right now, there's nothing going on as far as design between the district and them. Has it come up in conversation? A lot of things have come up in conversation over the last several months. The issue right now that we were focused on is not so much the move the 9th and 10th graders to Mackin, but the 11th and 12th graders. We're looking at the cheapest way to continue to educate those students, whether it be they remain at Coughlin and we do stage construction project at that site. As I understand it, that building's not heated, so it would require some work, boiler and some classroom renovation. There's a certain amount of cost involved in that. I think that we're looking at other options. What would be the most cost-effective way to continue to educate those students as this project moves forward? So that really, right now, is what's being looked at. There was supposed to be a design committee meeting today that was canceled, and if I'm not mistaken, some of our design members are here. They were putting together a matrix of options with costs attached. That will come up with the next design committee meeting. That's as much as I can answer that right now.
Okay. Can I make a statement too, please? I think we've all said this. After the meeting, if there are any questions specific that we have not addressed properly, please come forward. We will be here sitting, waiting to answer any questions that you may have. Any. So, to that end.
The next person who signed in was Bradley, who would like to talk about students.
Hi, my name is Riley Holden. I'm a freshman at GAR. I went to the Bear Creek Charter School until 7th grade. I played field hockey, basketball, and softball, and I'm in the SAC club, Key club, and the yearbook club. I love my school. Can you please tell me what you're going to do for all of the kids that cannot make the teams in the new school? Clubs do not take up the same amount of time or require the same amount of dedication as sports. How will you replace that? How will you keep kids' school spirit high? Sorry to make you do this.
Very honestly, and a great question, Ryan. We've been trying to look at options because I know one of the issues that's perceived is the idea of the lack of opportunities in the combination of consolidation school. And we realize that we've been looking at trying to study other models of consolidation in regard to intramurals as possible outlets for students who can't make the teams. But we're trying to look into that situation. Thank you.
The whole district is very proud of you. Thank you. Our next person who signed in was Joe Marshall, who'd like to speak about daycare busing.
I would like to know what we can do, possible changes that we can make so that daycare daycare on Blackman Street in Wilkes-Barre. I am one building away from going to a bus home. And my kids can't get on the bus. I have 6 kids. I would like to know, could we do a feasibility study and see how many empty seats are on each bus and allow the daycares in that area to fill those seats? As long as it's not overcrowding the buses, that we don't need an extra bus, why not fill those buses to the best of capacity?
I will address that if you'd like.
I would have that.
Okay. May I give you a breakdown, and I think, ma'am, have we spoken before in the past?
On the phone.
Yes, okay. We had, at the beginning of last year, a meeting of all the daycares within this district. The issue became twofold. Fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers of this district, number one. And number two, safety issues with overcrowded buses. Understand, we looked at our transportation department, Mr. Wall, Ms. Davidson, we looked very carefully at that situation. We, in fact, brought everyone together to say that we had safety issues, number one, and realistically, fiscally, with the taxpayers of this district, we can't pay for private transportation for daycares. To that point, your daycare being identified was not at that meeting. Our fault.
Correct.
Slipped through the cracks. We had a conversation, and as I recall last year, you said, well, you're throwing this at me.
Right.
To your point, I thought we were very fair in saying to you that in fact, we will give you time to address this issue, which all the other daycares did. They had to pay or find alternate ways of addressing the transportation issue. Once again, fell through the cracks a bit, and your daycare got 1 full year of transportation. So, to that point, beginning of the school year, I asked if your daycare had taken the path of trying to find an alternate situation for transportation. And I was told no. So, in essence too, and I'm going to say this, last Friday, I was in the office and wasn't supposed to be there. I had to go in on a day out for a situation. And I'll say this publicly. It was reported on NEP that this board and this superintendent did not respond to phone calls. They got none. So I'll address that with NEP. Having said that, our curriculum director did address that issue with NEP. Apparently, I don't know if it was, the communication was not received. Having said that, let me say this. We are all about the kids, trying to help out. We have an obligation to the taxpayers of this district. If we decide to put on another bus, it will cost this district $320 a day for daycare. Additionally, that comes to a year of $57,000. If we do it for you, we should do it for every other daycare that's out there for a total of $228,000. Cannot do it. I'm sorry to say, school code, quote me, sadly, we pick up at bus stops. We are not in the business of doing this in regard to taxpayers. Anything else, sir? Sure, absolutely.
Okay. First of all, I was told that I was a new daycare. I've been in business 24 years. I have never abused the bus system, and I understand there are 1 or 2 daycare centers that did. So I don't feel that we all should be penalized for 1 or 2. I am not asking the district to put on any extra buses whatsoever. I am asking the district to see where there are empty seats and allow us to fill those buses with our children. Also, the district has a 100% contract with, and I'm sorry, it's always been Williams Bus Line, whatever it is now. So I called them to find out if I could contract with them, and they said they cannot because they have an exclusive contract with the district. So that was gone. I have to provide every transportation place in the phone book. I got one company, and after a week and a half, they had to stop because they ran out of bus drivers. So, I am asking the district, where can I go?
I don't have a solution to that problem, very honestly.
So I'm back to, why can't we fill those buses to capacity?
Dr. Pratt, can I interrupt 1 second? I know other daycares they bought their own van, and they have van drivers that pick the kids up and
Well,
take them.
that's great, but I'm a little place. I'm not a big place. I don't have the money to do that. And if my 6 kids leave with their siblings, I don't have enough people left in my daycare to keep going. So after 24 years, I will have to close my doors. All because of 6 children who are 1 building away from the bus yard. And I can't get a contract with the bus company, and Wilkes-Barre area won't let me on the bus.
You call the daycares and ask them if they would maybe welcome some of your people.
I have tried to get, and we're waiting and back and forth with phone calls and things like that. But, that's an option I've been trying to work on.
Ma'am, if we don't pick up the daycare kids now, okay, that's acceptable. Why is it a problem for you to contract with Williams Bus Line? I don't understand.
They told me that their contract is exclusive to Wilkes-Barre area, that they cannot contract with anyone else.
Let me make a statement. If you, no offense, ma'am, I understand your plight. I wish there was more. Do it for this, better do it for 5 others. And that constitutes a financial burden on this district, period.
But
And I understand. If we constitute them putting on, let's just say, for example, we put your 6 kids on this bus for Blackman Street. Well, daycare that's across from Hollenbeck Golf Course, they may have more, which constitutes an overcrowded safety bus, and then I gotta put another bus on.
No,
So then,
because you say to the daycares, this is the allotted amount that you can put on a bus.
Here's the issue we have with that, though.
Okay.
We have a fluctuating enrollment, which changes daily. So what happens in your instance, where now we've committed 6 seats to that bus, but we need those 6 seats for newly enrolled students in the district. You're back to square one, right in the middle of the school year. So
Okay,
that
then-
we have to service the district students first. And let me say one other thing. The only thing I can think of that I could possibly do is take a look at our contract with STA/Williams and have a conversation with them. We certainly didn't intend in entering into our contract to include STA from contracting with your daycare to provide busing. We're
Well,
willing to pay for it.
that may be a viable alternative, but that's what I was told. They cannot do it.
and again, that's a great alternative, Attorney Winteloski. The issue may be times and the bus drivers and the availability of buses, but we could look into that.
Clearly, STA is in the business of making
There,
money.
Mr. Wall,
Just to clarify.
Transportation Director.
We just had a meeting today and we talked to Janelle. I think some of the daycares wanted to partner up with our buses, with STA, and say, okay, we're putting 10 students on, we're gonna give you $20 a day per student to transfer. They do not wanna do it that way. If you personally go to STA and say, hey, I need a van for 6 students, I believe you may be able to get that van at the prevailing cost.
Well,
But
when I
not to-
called them,
not to
that's
compete.
not what I was told.
Well, and again, in light of everything, this is a very crazy time of the year. I tell everybody, this transportation is a constant, like Attorney Winteloski said, it's a constant growing, changing thing, day to day, depending on the enrollments and things that change. I think after this dust settles, if you talk to Janelle and say, look, I want my own van, I'm gonna pay you directly, I'm not paying the school board district a check, I don't expect you to commingle my students with the bus, you may be able to do that.
Well, as I said this just you to get my kids to school? And she said, no, we have an exclusive contract with Wilkes-Barre area and it cannot be done.
Ms. Barton, I will talk to SDA. I'm gonna give you my number, my cell phone. So you reach out to me, and I will talk to them, and we'll see what we can do. The next is Brooke Sippert, who would also like to speak about, child corner.
No, transportation.
Okay.
Hello. My question also is in regards to transportation. I'm curious about the resident pupils, the eligibility for free transportation, which is only decided, it says under law by the board. So I was wondering, if you could tell me the date of the public meeting in regards to transportation for the resident pupils, that they are not allowed to transport between dropped off school and picked up from school if they are resident pupils but are at a licensed daycare, because they are currently being picked up from grandmothers, aunts, uncles, neighbors. So what written policy or rule are you guys following? And number two is, how was it passed unless it was on an agenda before? I'm just curious.
We're following the school code provision, which does not require us to bus to and from daycare.
No, I'm not stating
Talking
that.
about those students, Brooke, who are on affidavits,
No,
okay? I'm not
I'm
understanding.
talking about resident pupils as a whole in the Wilkes-Barre area school district. If you are a resident pupil that's allowed by law in Solomon, let's say, and there's a child care facility in Solomon, the school board is supposed to decide either if it's feasible that those children could jump on that bus, and if it's not feasible, the only other option is, hold on, people, I'm sorry, all the wrong words. It's called shared use of the same vehicle. You guys would not be out of any money. Dr. Krebs, you said you wanted to work as a team. I'm trying to work as a team.
And I've met
You
with
said
you
you're
many
not,
times.
yes, that's right, because you keep saying about tax dollars, and you won't be out any tax dollars.
Problem with your issues, Brooke, we've had this conversation.
I'm
Is the
finished with this.
Okay, is safety and the overcrowding that's caused specifically by your daycare, loading these kids
By my
on
daycare?
on the buses, okay? That is a concern of mine.
Can I get it on the agenda, please?
In regard to what?
In regards to transportation, because if not, I would like the funding and the public monies to come my way, because you keep saying out of money. For example, safety, if you needed another bus, I know how you get paid. You would get an additional amount of monies for each vehicle, and then I forget the proper word, but miles per services, per pupil. I understand, so you will not be out any money, so where is the money going for all the clients at my facility?
We've had
For
this
example,
discussion many times.
and you keep not answering it.
I have answered it many
Well, then
times.
answer these are laws and regs, like, you won't give me a proper answer, you're stating the board has to vote on it, it says.
Brooke, the board's been transporting students in this district since before I was assistant solicitor and became solicitor. Number one. Number two, you're a for-profit business, correct?
What does that have to do with my question? It's not being answered.
Why should the district subsidize your for-profit
Why
business?
should
by
you not follow the
providing
laws
transportation?
by state laws? It says right here.
We are going by the laws.
You are, then okay, then the
We're
board by
required-
law is supposed
we-
to put it on the agenda and vote it, if it's feasible or not.
If we follow
So
school
you're not
code.
answering my question, okay. Feasible.
I've tried to, Brooke, many times.
You didn't answer any
Many times
questions.
with you, Brooke, many times privately. So I've met many
I'm
times
glad
with
that
you.
the publicly said, you didn't
Yep.
answer that one question.
I've tried to answer all the
Did
questions.
somebody tell me how to put it on or not? No?
The bottom line is you've gotten answers. I was in a meeting with you and Dr. Pryor privately as well. You don't like the answers. You don't like the answers, but you're getting an answer. The answer is we don't have to provide you. Not to and from daycare. No. Next is Mary Elder, if you'd like to speak about the same subject.
Yes, hi. I would just like to add a little bit that we were just discussing. Melodic, M-E-L-O-D-I-C-K.
I apologize for this.
No, that's okay. One of the quick things is I'd like to know is, you're saying about the overcrowding. As the first owner of the child care center was saying, she wants to see if there's available spots. We are not looking to overcrowd anyone. One of the questions when I asked personally to someone, when I asked them, you are only responsible, I was told, for the bus stop from their house to school.
from the house are designated spots along the route.
Correct, correct. So if, just say, I have a family member that is supposed to be on bus K from their house, and their parent is utilizing our center, and bus K drives right on by, I was told that that child cannot get on that bus. How is that coming out of the taxpayers' dollars, is the first thing I'd like to know, because it's not. They're already entitled to it. You're making the parents make a choice to either go to work late, reroute their schedules. And another really quick question, if someone could tell me, is there any relevance that the same year a before and after program opened at 2 Wilkes-Barre schools, it was the same year transportation was ceased after you provided it for this whole entire time? Now, a center is threatening to be closed because she can't meet the financial burden. And why, when some of my clients call and they're told, why don't you just bring your children to our center or your program up at Solomon or Kistler, whichever?
I'm not familiar with the one that's going to be closed. Are you saying one of ours?
Yes, it's all.
Oh,
yes.
you mean, no, she needs one of ours.
Yes, yes. 3 of our clients spoke with somebody and asked, was telling them about the dilemma.
I've not received any words, Mayor, on the closing.
No,
You said-
the woman that just said about hers.
Oh, hers, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
I thought you meant one of ours.
Yes, no. Ours, like I want to say, not that business is being solicited, but, because that's a very strong word, I know it's lawful to do that. If you're saying, hey, come to our center, we'll rectify your problems, but you're more or less stonewalling the centers. We are a profit organization, we do get paid, but it's like you're deliberately trying to make it very difficult for the small business. Again, we're not asking for anything, just what is allowed. As Brooke had just tried to state, where are the laws that we can follow? Where we're being told something that's, not that we don't understand, not that we don't like the answer. We're getting laws and reading them to you, and you're just saying, that's not how it is. Explain to us how it's not. That's the only thing. The 2 questions if I can get answered, you're the ones I'm
We
really.
tried to do that multiple times in meetings with Brooks. The bottom line is the district is not required to provide transportation.
No, absolutely. I'm just asking about the 2 questions presented right now.
And clearly, we don't have to provide transportation for profit daycares.
Absolutely,
And it's fiscally
absolutely.
irresponsible on the district when it's in the situation it's in right now to subsidize your business.
No, absolutely. And again, I'm not saying that we can still provide transportation for the children that are on affidavits or if they're afterwards. I'm talking about if someone's supposed to be on that bus from their house and they drive
Okay,
right
can I
by
answer
us.
that question? I'll
Yes.
answer that question. Okay, it has to be a designated bus stop. So even
Yes.
if the bus drives by, is there a designated bus stop right there?
Absolutely.
There's a designated bus stop, so if that
No,
child.
we'll walk down, we'll meet you. If you still want to drive past us in the rain, that's fine. We'll walk down to the bus stop.
Number one, it has to be a designated bus stop, and it has to be a child who resides in that
That's what I
area
just
that
said.
would have to be right at
That's
that
what I
bus
said, if
stop.
they're supposed to be on
And
bus
I know
stop.
that we have allowed that, so if it's a child that number one resides in that area, and that's their designated bus stop, they could walk to that bus
So
stop.
Mary, thank you, Dr. Corey. You're saying, Mary, that there's people, that's their regular bus stop,
Yes,
who attend your daycare,
yes.
make it to the bus stop, and are not being picked up.
Correct. No.
Go ahead. Let me
Bus
understand
stop.
this again.
Yes, they're going to be on the bus. The bus stop from their house, their parent has to go off to work. So they're entrusting their child to us. They're supposed to be on bus K. Right outside our center is a stop. Not their
But
bus
not
stop.
their stop.
Not from their house, but they'd still be on that bus. 2 minutes
Because
is
they're
different.
not residents there. So
No, they're
our-
residents. They're
No,
residents.
they're residents for that bus stop. You're saying it's not their stop.
Yes. Not for that bus stop, 2 blocks down. 2 blocks down. Bus route. I'm losing my words. I'm losing the words. I apologize.
So they'd end up on the same bus.
Yes. We're not looking to overcrowd. We know unfortunately, the overcrowding and how fingers were pointed at certain centers. I understand that. We are just looking to rectify. As for the one that's just looking for 6 spots, I would say we've rectified our problem. We're revisiting this because, like you said, something was on the news. We got wind of this after 11 o'clock today. Another question, I don't want to open a can of worms.
Do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mary, if you and Brooke want to talk about this after the meeting,
Okay.
we're right here, okay?
And thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you, thanks, Mary.
Next person is Dave Kelly, who'd like to speak about the Cross Boys.
4 years now, they're doing fantastic. I think the question is, after I left there a couple months ago, was, you have a field. And I was asked to come here to let you guys know, I found a field. So what I'm asking for is you guys to say, okay, to go through the whole, try to get my boys together, to get a team together that's not gonna cost you guys anything. We're gonna fund it by fundraising. I'm not looking for any type of pay for 4 years. I mean, I don't care. I just want these kids to play. That's it. Riley here said, school spirit. I mean, that's what
Mr. Gallo is our athletic chair, maybe he wants to.
I don't have a problem with that. We told you to put everything together and get a feel. Just present your plan to Mr. Jones, the athletic director at Coughlin. He'll give it to us, we'll okay, if everything's in order. But again, you're gonna have to follow the same rigorous schedule that the girls follow. Everything they did, you
Oh,
did.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because
not looking for any.
No, and we're grateful that you're interested in doing this for our school district and for the kids, certainly.
Because there's a lot of kids are interested.
You got the field,
They keep coming.
put your plan together, how you're gonna do this, give it to Mr. Jones, he'll give it to us, and we'll do it. All right?
Dave, I have 2 questions. It's in the spring, Addison. And where's the field?
Over 44. By the airport.
You're leaving the district then?
What's that?
You're gonna leave Wilkes-Barre, you go?
There is no field around here. I have a travel team that I have kids from Scranton area to Tunkhannock to Sim, all over the place. And for 4 months, I looked for a field in Wilkes-Barre Township, and it needs to be 110 by 60. And it's hard to find.
I'm gonna have to, address our solicitor on that. I was assuming that your field was inside Wilkes-Barre area someplace.
No. This was held out because Dallas also had the same field when they started their program. Dallas had the same field down there for the first 2 years.
To see if it's okay first.
So what you do, when you submit your plan, I'll make sure that the committee gets it to me as well, and I'll look at it just to make sure we don't have any legal issues with regard to having it, off of the Wilkes-Barre area district property. My gut feeling is we're not going to have a problem, but I'll double check this.
It was the same field that Dallas used their first 2 years.
Hey, Dallas, Lehman, Tunkhannock, none of them were school sanctioned.
Correct.
They were just clubs.
Correct. And that's what we can. Yeah.
So it'd be something like Crystal Nice.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Everything in Mr. Jones, have our solicitor take a look at it. We'll act on it. Certainly, we would like to act on it for either the next or whatever.
Yeah, because, right now, Lehman is actually practicing, getting everything ready. There's a ton to do. There's a lot of stuff out there I could put in file for helmets for these kids.
But all that has to be, the equipment, the physicals, all that stuff has to be,
Right there.
right there, where you're gonna play, how you're gonna pay, how you're gonna fund it, everything else. Not just saying that, and, I think, Colleen, good coaching your girls.
Yeah.
You might want to sit with her and go right through what she did to handle and take it from there, and with Mr. Jones, the sooner you get it in, the sooner we can.
I got some grant money too.
Yes, and the person would help Pauline out with that. Contact me and I'll help him.
I'll give you my cell phone as well. You call me and I'll work with you. Anything I can do. Next we have Tracy Hughes, who'd like to speak on consolidation questions.
My first question is, if I remember hearing Dr. Prep correctly after one of the school board meeting, the plan is to incorporate GAR into the consolidated school eventually?
The motion was to model high school. So I think I alluded to there's a future possibility for that. The motion that was passed, and correct me if I'm wrong, was a consolidation of 2 schools, Myers and Coughlin.
Right.
That's it. So we go with the motion that was approved by.
So there is no plan to bring
Not at this time.
Coughlin
Yeah, but
or
if you
GAR?
allow me to do the summary and maybe be able to answer that question.
So you're going
Maybe I
to
should.
have a school, two different models then within the same
We
district.
will be following
You're
probably
going
at
to
this
have-
time in order.
Can I ask my
Sure,
question?
absolutely.
Thank you. So you're gonna have a school from 9 to 12 for the current Myers and Coughlin students, but 7 through 12 for the GAR students.
That's correct.
So there's no plan in the immediate future? Okay.
Motion
So,
was put forward.
why are you segregating those students? And are you going to redistrict the Wilkes-Barre area school district? Because there is no reason for Wilkes-Barre Township students to go downtown when they can go to GAR. Wilkes-Barre Township? Not all of them.
Township goes to 7 schools.
But there has to be
Waiting
some
for
redistricting. There will have to be redistricting for the whole city.
I disagree.
Well, I disagree too, and we could disagree.
We could agree to disagree. Go ahead, Teresa.
So then, and where do you plan on building this 7th through 8th grade building at the Kisner site?
As an addition to this building.
Right, where, I'm asking.
The design team maybe wants to address that.
There's two possibilities in the design team. Clearly, the one portion that you guys can.
Yeah, it's at the rear of the building and attaches to one of the existing stairwells on the rear side.
And it's
So
still,
what is
and it's still under consideration, it's still
Is
in
the
design
swimming
process.
pool being removed?
That has not been yet determined.
Playground being removed?
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Right, so like, I'm looking at Kisler at the back. What's happening to the playground?
Playground remains.
So where's this building going?
The building is down near the multi-purpose room cafeteria side.
The basketball court.
Or the basketball courts. The
So
actual,
towards Minor Park?
yeah, the preliminary design actually has
Do you own, does the district own that land?
it'll only be on district land. And the preliminary design, again, nothing's been approved, but the preliminary
So
concept is
how
on
far,
board.
how big is
Preliminary,
this?
to your point about, if you look at it from Myers Park, it's near.
All right, well, I'm looking at it from, I'm at Myers, and I can see the cafeteria doors.
Straight through those,
So the parking lot there would be,
straight through where those doors are to the restroom to the cafeteria.
so what's gonna be, where's the cafeteria gonna be?
No, beyond those restrooms. Out toward Myers Park.
Like where the library, like underneath the library? I'm very confused.
Where the baby pool is? On the basketball court.
I mean, I'd like to know, I think everybody wants to know.
There'll be a public meeting.
It will be a public meeting.
Presented drawings,
It's
but-
preliminary in regard to this design process.
So has the board considered or looked into how this is going to affect the other students in this district that are going to be 7 through 12? And then other students are going to be 9 through 12?
There is no plan.
We are segregating this district.
Yeah, but
Plain
no
Solomon
plan.
has a 7 through 8. Now, South Wilkes-Barre is going to have a 7 through 8.
That's it, time's up.
Can I just? Can I just say something? To your point. Have a look at, segregating, strong word, but.
That's what you're doing.
I don't think so. But we already have that model in place. We have a
Right, so
K-8 campus.
where are the studies? Have you done studies that say students benefit from having a 7th and 8th versus a 7 through 12?
I think we've looked at a lot of research.
Do you?
Can I answer that as a parent? Both of my children went through the K-8 model and then the 9 to 12 model and got a really good education from Wilkes-Barre area.
So why shouldn't?
Now
the
answer it
rest
as a
of
board
the
member.
district- So why doesn't
The
the rest of the
research.
district?
Well, the rest of the district is gonna have a K-8, South Wilkes-Barre is gonna have a K-8. And right now,
GI1.
we think we can keep GAR maintained so that we don't have to.
And you think that's fair?
What we can afford and what's fair. As I said.
Where's the
may I-
education
I'm
for
not-
the children? This board is supposed to be about the education.
We get it, we get it.
And it's been submitted.
Next person.
speak about consolidation. I think Joe pretty much answered my first question was with the closure of Coughlin High School, where would the 11th and 12th grade students go? So he somewhat answered it by saying that there really is no concrete plan at this point. My other question, I kind of understand what Tracy was trying to allude to. It seems to me that Coughlin would be closed, but we gain a building with the Mackin, so that's the even swap. Myers would be closed, we build a new school, so that's the even swap. But it seems like we gain an additional building at the Kistler site by this addition. So it seems like we're gaining another facility. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. But at this point, you're claiming that there is no long-range plan, which I find it, kind of astonishing that you don't really have a long-range plan. So you're saying that the GAR students will remain the same. There is no current plan to incorporate them into this new structure. I think when she talks about the redistricting, I know we live in an area that's classified as sort of like a neutral zone. Children can go to Coughlin, to GAR, and they can go to Myers. So it appears that now these 7th and 8th graders, I guess, would now have to make a choice. Should I go to this new 7th and 8th grade only school, or should I now go to the GAR school and be thrown into the mix with the senior high kids? Those children that live in that neutral zone would have that option. So in a way, it seemed like there should be some kind of a cutoff or redistricting. It seemed like several children, a group of children will have an option to choose a school choice. If I'm making any sense.
Yes.
And I'm an advocate. I know for years we've existed. I'm a prime person that I did go through Coughlin High School 7th through 12th grade. And many of you went through that same process. You attended our city high school from 7th through 12th. But it does appear that you are, maybe segregating was a hard word, but you're kind of subjecting a select group of students to a 7th and 8th grade. Like we have two different models. You select a select group, which makes up a disproportionate number of low-income minority type students, to a certain model where other children, even though it does include other minority groups, to somewhat different education. I think that's what I gathered from her comments. So I like to see that addressed. That's pretty much all I have.
I'd like to address a couple of issues. First of all, we haven't really discussed whether we're going to redistrict or how we're going to redistrict. I kind of agree with you that there has to be some kind of redistricting going rather than having the kids make a choice. And let me just say what we did, because I was at GAR. Kids from Wilkes-Barre Township were incorporated into GAR. And what we did, and whether you like it or not, it did work for us, is we allowed all the children who had previously gone to Coughlin and their siblings to continue to go there until that was kind of, all the brothers and sisters were out and gone, and then those kids had to come to GAR. And they did, and they accepted it. And right now, we do have two different models, okay? We have Coughlin, which is 9 to 12, 10, actually, we have 9 to 12. We have GAR and Myers that are 7 to 12. So we do have that K to 8 system that's going on at Plains. I think that's something we have to do, search very, very wisely what we're going to do with those kids who, for years, have been in that gray area, where you can make a choice. I remember, and I'm sure you remember too, I graduated with a girl who came to GAR, and in her house, her brother went to Myers. So it was, it was a choice that they made. I kind of agree with you that we should have some boundaries that, this redistricting has to take a look at. And I think that the Wilkes-Barre Township model has to be looked at too, because we allow those kids who started at Myers and their brothers and sisters that started at Coughlin to continue to go to Coughlin from Wilkes-Barre Township. And I think that's only fair. If you have a a sibling who's maybe in 8th grade at Myers when the merger starts, they continue to Myers, you know, which would be those kids.
Well, you want to call it redistricting, but I think that, like you
It's
said.
kind of
it
setting
needs to-
boundaries.
Right,
It's
it
setting
needs to be- I
boundaries.
think it needs to be
And
addressed.
that gray area needs to be addressed, because certainly, we don't want to prevent one kid who has a brother or sister who was at Myers, is now at Coughlin, and now you're gonna say that you have to go to JR. No, we don't want to do that. I mean, I don't think we should. That comes for a vote, obviously. But as soon as the siblings run through, then we have to address that. Maybe we should have some boundaries where, you know, the new school's gonna take so many kids, and JR obviously can take more than they have right now, because they have the room. My kids went through a 7 through 12 system at JR. They graduated, did very well, went to college, got a good education. You know, I agree with Mr. Kaplan. Kids that come through Plains, K to 8 and 9 through 12, you have a lot of good kids there that get great education.
Right, I over the years, I've asked to see, you know, were any studies done, or is there any data kept, you know, to show how those children that benefit by that education, say, in Plains facility, how do they transition into the high school level? You know, you look at the test scores, you know, and things like that, but how do they transition into now coming into Coughlin versus those children that are in Myers and JR, how do they transition now when they get into the high school level, having been in that setting versus the other children?
We can take a look at that, but I think
One of the things, Len, very honestly, you're talking about studies and so on, and each high school submits a graduation report. To that point, we could examine that. You're saying specific studies.
Or is there some way to gauge, how do those children say that benefit by the Plains structure? When they get into, say, whatever's considered ninth, when they come into ninth grade versus those kids in 7th and 8th that, say, Myers and JR, when they get into ninth grade at the respective, how do they test scores?
I've had some interesting conversations with administrators about the district over the years. I would characterize those conversations as kind of like split in terms of, and even teachers, the value of having 7th graders starting in 7th through 12 versus not being with the older kids. It depends. I have seen, you know, as working in Myers 7th to 12, that it works. As a parent, I've also seen the K-8 model work extremely well. The activities part of it was outstanding for our kids because the 7th and 8th graders in their own building had their own newspaper, had their own dances, had their own National Junior Honor Society. So there was a lot of value to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but that's what I think Steve was even trying to say, is that we're kind of denying a segment of that student population to not be afforded those.
Meaning the K-8?
Yeah, all of those things that you said, they had their own.
No, we're looking at argument for K-8 throughout the district.
Pardon?
You're arguing for a K-8.
No, I'm saying, so by having two different formats, sort of, you're denying those children that are in 7th through 12 the same benefits.
Not necessarily, because when I was.
They have their own list, they have their own.
Yes. Yeah. Can I look at it? You know, we had our own sports, we had our own dances, we had our own this, we had our own clubs that were 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, even though they were together, junior high.
Because I know some child has been in school, and they get in that 7th grade, they consider themselves in high school. You know what I'm saying? They're not in the junior high.
I just don't want to my comments and have a concrete plan. We haven't made a decision. We didn't also throw out there one of the possibilities of looking at these cost thing is monitors. So we're examining what are the
Monitors on the call.
No, not necessarily. Maybe
So it can take place at that cost site.
it wouldn't be at the cost site. So we want to make sure what the cost will be for that decision.
I'm gonna say one thing now. Twice Wilkes-Barre Township's been referenced. The kids from the township go to 7 different schools out of the 9. 1/3 go to Dotson, 1/3 high, 1/3 Buck. 1/3 of the kids go to 7th and 8th grade at Solomon. 1/3 go now to Mackin, 9th and 10th. 2/3 go to GAR. 7 different schools, chopped up 7 different ways.
That's a problem, that's what I'm saying, there has to be redistricting.
I just say something, we're not.
We're gonna talk about that before the election.
I'm looking
We'll talk about that before an election.
Being an elementary teacher for so long, for almost 35 years, I'm opposed to K-8 in any building. I'm sorry, I just am. I don't like a kindergarten child on the same bus with an 8th grader. I think is healthy with Kistler here, 7th, 8th grade here. I think they're more adaptable to go up to the, once the 8th graders to go up to that senior, and then go down. Where these other children, like in 4th and 3rd grade, being, I think the word used to be exposed, but being with those kids in the same building. When I look at it that way, I always liked 7th and 8th grade to be together for a while before they go to the senior high. We all know as parents, I had 3 and I have 4 grandkids. When it comes down to that 7th and 8th grade life, that 7th and 8th grade mentality, whoa, you really are, I mean, let's face it, you lose your kid, you get him back around 9th grade. So we all went through it. So really, that separate 7th and 8th grade together, I just think it's
Next person is on the speak will that plan.
3 minutes, Kim.
Sneak up on you, Kim, sorry.
3 minutes, Kim.
Fascinated by all this.
3 minutes.
3 minutes at the start.
Nope.
Thank you, good evening. My first question is a very serious one, which is, why is this meeting being held on Rosh Hashanah?
Thank you.
It was a school day today, is that correct?
The regularly scheduled board meeting.
Yes, but regularly scheduled board meeting wouldn't take place on Christmas or on Holy Thursday. It wouldn't happen. And as we work, and a lot of the questions today have been about diversity and the impact planning has on diversity, and more importantly, the impact no planning has on diversity. And I think it's a serious point, and I am concerned about it. And my second question is a disturbing point that was raised at the public forum 2 weeks ago. And Mr. Quinn, I want to know whether you ever said that plain, no?
I'll tell you what I did say.
We don't even know I'm asking you. Well, I think it's waiting for me to ask the question. That's good, all right? That's the way we normally do it. Did you ever say that plain students would never go to South Wilkes-Barre? Okay. Answer my question, all right? The next question is, and I'm going to go back to Tracy and Len. The issue for me, and I think the issue for most of the citizens of this district, is not whether or not the K-8 model is better than the 7 through 12 model, but whether or not the district has ever addressed which is educationally preferable. Because if it has, it's inappropriate to have no plan that deals with all of our students in the same way. I have feelings about which is more preferable, but I'm not an educator. But I do expect the educators to tell us that. And I do expect someone to tell us which is preferable, and that if one is, that means one isn't. And that then means, as far as I'm concerned, that someone's being disadvantaged. And I don't think that's appropriate.
Thank you.
Now,
For serious.
we heard Mr. Evans talk about his own preference to not having 8th graders ride in the same bus as kindergartners. And we also heard earlier today that every additional bus costs $57,000 a year. Has there been any plan? Now, first, if we went through K-8 at Kistler, are you going to bus them separately for the 1 through 6 and the 7 through 8? Second, what are we going to do with respect to the additional busing costs that are addressed by the consolidation at $57,000 a bus? So the question becomes, has that been budgeted? Is there a plan for that? Is there something specific that goes with that particular point? Next, does the district have a written plan in place right now, a written facilities plan, for what the district's aspirations are for 5 years from now? Everything to me tonight and for the last 2 months has seemed to be seat of the pants. It doesn't seem to be a facilities plan. There has not been an education plan. And decisions just can't be made on a Monday night, you know, in this status as questions come up and we suddenly seem to be, well, now we have to think about that. Another example would be Coughlin. I have a very serious question about what's going to happen with the juniors and seniors at Coughlin when that building closes, and when is that building going to close? Because there hasn't been any address to that. They can't all fit a vacuum. If the building is dangerous, when is it going to close? If the building is not dangerous, why are we talking about it in that context?
Maybe we can answer some of the questions. Let me pick up where you left off. It's clearly.
I'll stay right here.
Yes. The discussions with regard to clearly Coughlin's been on highway where we've had an engineer looking at it regularly to safely continue to do that. As long as it's a safe building, the plan is to continue to use it. Clearly, the annex is in much better condition, relatively speaking, than the main building. So that for the short term, Mackin will handle 2 grades, the annex will handle 2 grades. That's for the short term.
But why isn't this going to move anyone to Mackin if for the short term the building is safe?
We're talking about for the period of time when the building is either unsafe, if it becomes unsafe, or when the project's going to move forward. Clearly, I don't think there's anybody in the room who can argue that the Coughlin building, the main building, is safe. So that sooner or later it's got to come down and something needs to be done with it. So that in the short term, when the annex is still functional, the students can go there. What's then being discussed, including the discussion of modulars, throwing out the idea of time leader building to talk about, the secret modulars, that's the preliminary discussions, is what do you do with those students when the actual Coughlin building needs to come down and the heating system in the main building of Coughlin services the annex. So there's a cost in temporarily heating the annex in the period of time in which you're going to do the construction. There's also an increased cost of construction to do it phased, where you're going to put up a new building, leave the annex there, and then tear down the annex and add on. So we're looking at all those things to see what the costs are, and we don't have the answer yet, but we're still exploring every possibility and the chess moves that may take place with regard to moving those students in the most cost-effective way to move those students.
So when are we going to have that answer? I mean, it seems like it's going to.
Counselor, very honestly, if you were to ask me today, and again, this has not been determined, the chief driving force behind Mackin in this split school, because as soon as it was identified by our experts as a major league problem, we talked to local colleges, we looked at other facilities in order to finish the school year last year, because that was in doubt, very honestly. The plan was, again, to utilize one of our own facilities, that's Mackin, half of the kids going there, and half of them stay in the annex. The issue that we have to consider now, if you were to ask me today, it's yet to be determined, where the 11th and 12th graders going to be housed during this project, it's the annex. It may be a staging process to build this new building. So it would be, in fact, the idea that they are housed in the annex, and as the new building materializes, then the switch would be made over to the new building, and then in fact, the annex taken down and the project completed.
Do you have a plan to heat the annex?
Again, these chess pieces are moving because the design team is putting dollar figures on the cost of all this stuff.
Sure.
We are not informed decisions to spend the least amount to accomplish housing those students in the short term when the construction project takes place. But let's say Mr. Leonard came to us and said, you need to close the Coughlin building tomorrow. Okay? Or let's say when the Mackin building is up and running. Half the students can go to Mackin, half the students can go to the annex. The next step in the test game is to figure out where those students in the annex will go when the actual demolition of the Coughlin building will take place in the project. We don't have those cost numbers yet, but we're working on it.
I didn't mean to cut Mr. Quinn off. I did because I wanted to ask a question.
Right.
All right.
You said you had something you want to say.
I do. I never, ever used Plains Township. I've talked about other places. I know I've talked about Parsons Miners, East End, North End. I've talked about Bear Creek situation. There's places that a lot of people don't have a clue where they're at. For instance, Stoddardsville. Now, Tom's over there. There is, we have kids that pick a bus up at Indian Lake. They walk about a mile and a half out. This is the dead of winter, but it's dark. There's no lights up there. This is pretty desolate. There's Indian Lake, there's Mountain Lake, there's Meadow Run Lake, there's Lake Lomita. There's other places where these kids have to come out, all right? Because they get picked up on the highway. Now, what time? Now I'm retired, this is my 12th year out. At one time, Stoddardsville and Thorner's kids were 6 o'clock. It's probably not much different. And if you add on the time they have to walk out, for instance, if they don't have a ride, in the dead of winter, and it's bitter cold, they get out there sometimes and then school's called off, or it's delayed after they've come out that far. And there's no shelters for them. That's what I've talked about over and over and over again. It's, but again, Mountain Lake, Meadow Run Lake.
Your point is that it
my
would be...
point is that the kids are coming out, and if they have to go any further, like for instance, they have a dropout point. I don't know what you call it. It used to be Bear Creek School, Oliver School, where they'd stop and transfer buses to the transfer station. Is that fair to say? Now it's at Solomon. Tom's our transportation person. But anyway, that's what I talked about with transportation.
Do you think that it's a significant difference in time to travel to Cary Avenue as opposed to North Washington Street?
Jimmy, you were talking about this earlier.
I have to say that is astounding.
And you absolutely did say that, Mr. Quinn.
And there are days when I can get to my home in South Wilkes or to Myers for debate practice faster than I could have gotten downtown. And that defies belief.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll keep you 3 minutes on the speech and take
I want to echo what Mr. Holden said, that I respect all of you on the panel, and I know all of you individually, most of you individually. We've had great conversations about schools and other things. But I do have a couple of questions today as well. Back in the fall, when I was in the Coughlin Auditorium and we were listening to the results of the feasibility study, the feasibility study said that GER required improvements of upwards of $20 million. And Plan Con A submissions to the state, which is my understanding reaching our borrowing limit of $100 million, there is zero mention of any type of large-scale improvements at GER. So my question is, doesn't this just become planned obsolescence? The same stewardship issues that led to what you are saying needs to have the closing of Coughlin and may necessitate the closing of Myers High School? It's not, all right, in essence, if we don't improve GER, aren't we in the same place 5 years from now with GER? If we're at our lending limit at $100 million, how do we improve GER?
Let me take a step back. Clearly, we're not at our borrowing limit at $100 million. Okay.
Before it goes to a vote.
If you look at the debt act, we can borrow way more.
But if you borrow more, it requires a referendum. You don't want the people to vote on it.
Hey, Joe, let me say this.
Amen.
The referendum you're talking about is not a referendum to build a school. The referendum you're talking about is to deviate from the Act 1 limitations on the amount of taxes the board can raise. So that's what you're talking about.
Which limits how much you could borrow.
Can't borrow the money, correct?
Correct.
So then that's ipso facto, it's a vote on whether to build a school.
And the bottom line is the district has a facilities maintenance plan. It's the first time in my recollection that they have one.
Can we see it?
The plan needs to be followed. If the plan is followed, the assets we currently have should survive and thrive. Should not become the next Coughlin or Myers.
So that there is planning to introduce $20+ million of renovations in the GER High School in the next 5 years. But isn't that what the feasibility study suggested?
Very honestly, Counselor, and I could address that in my summary, we're trying to follow the maintenance plan of facilities. You want to use the terminology master plan, okay, to address this issue. And I'll try to address it.
And Joe, what the effort is to basically triage the needs of all of our buildings, not just GARs, but all of them.
But I think
To
you
do what
understand.
needs to be done first, and move forward with that
I
process.
think you understand my worries that while I was a Myers High School student, and while after I graduated college, people told the board Myers High School needed investment in order to keep the building sustainable, yet the board never invested any money in Myers High School. And so my question is, without seeing any evidence or plan to invest money in the GR, why should I take you at your
You're
word?
absolutely correct.
Joe, this board, you're right. Yes, and Joe, if nothing, I think this board has demonstrated they're willing to make some pretty tough decisions in the face of public discontent about
Means
those
bad decisions.
So that it may not be the most popular decision, but they're willing to put their neck out there and make decisions on what they believe is for the betterment of the district. And I don't see any reason why that would change. This board is committed to trying to do the right things.
Secondarily, anyone who voted for the consolidation, will they state a preference, if affordable, whether community schools are preferable to consolidated schools? If affordable.
Yeah, Joe, that is your time. I'm just gonna say that.
That's a yes or no question. I'll sit down, and we'll continue the debate. But if yes or no would be fantastic.
Nobody's gonna answer?
Hang on 1 second. Next is Ron Wasnock, who would like to speak about Wyoming Valley East.
Good evening, all of you. I'd like to start by echoing Attorney Borland's last question. If economically feasible, do all of you support the neighborhood model over the consolidated model? Yes, everyone does. Okay, just so we
Hold on, I'd like to answer that. Sure. Kaufman is not a neighborhood school to everyone.
Okay.
90% of the kids are bused in.
Thanks.
I'd like to say one thing.
Sure.
I said before, I'll say again tonight, that if when I sat on the feasibility committee, and that was an option toward the end, and our financial director was sitting right across the banker, whoever said was sitting there, and it was a model, it was a stage. Fix Kaufman, fix Myers, fix GAR. If it was feasible to do that, fix them all up within the amount of money we were able to borrow, it would have been no-brainer. Right up, and it would have stayed up. But to put the money, and again, and I'll say this publicly, that put the money into Myers, put the money into Kaufman, and put the money in the GAR. And remember, GAR is, we had discussions here, you know how I feel about it. I want one school, and I'll say it, I want one school eventually. That when we get our money out of this, we need, they will come down. But if we put all three schools together, that's almost $300 million. $300 million to fix all three, with give or take a few. The name of the game is, I'm a Myers graduate.
My next question is, I've heard this maintenance plan talked about a lot. Since when is $100 million a maintenance plan, is my question. You want to borrow $100 million to completely knock down one school, build an entire new school, add an addition to Kistler, and do another $20 million of work on Mackin. I mean, that was the biggest project this board has done for as long as I've been alive. Now we're talking about all of a sudden there's a $100 million maintenance plan, which, again, I'll just echo the sentiment of Attorney Borland. I understand that it may have been different board members, but the track record of maintenance being done in this district is so subpar. I mean, in the feasibility study itself, there was studies done in Myers 6 years ago that cited specific repairs that could have been done that would have prolonged the life of the building, and it weren't done. Were any of you on the board 6 years ago? Were any of you at all? Well, that's fair enough to say then, but the fact of the matter is that when you're going to sit here and tell us that you have a $100 million maintenance plan when clearly there's no room in the budget every single year for $20 million in additional renovations, all you're doing is spreading that cost of renovation out over the years to do work on other buildings to avoid the $100 million borrowing limit that comes with the vote of closing Myers and building this consolidated school. And to say it's anything else is it's an insult to every single taxpayer in this room, because it's obvious it's extremely obvious. That's your comment. Thank you. I was gonna say, he was talking.
I'd like to say one thing before he leaves.
Sure.
The day that turned everybody around, we were all for 3 schools, committed without a doubt. And I don't know how many months ago, the Wilkes-Barre group suggested that we meet with Ray and with Tom. Tom is here somewhere. Tom Tellish, is he still there? We met with them upstairs on the 4th floor of the administration building, and it turned everything around because we saw that the way things are going right now, without anything at all, what was the number, about 20-some million that we have a deficit of. We had a surplus of 16 million a couple years ago, but the way it's going right now, am I wrong at 20 or 25 million?
Ron, what Mr. Quinn is.
Just give me a number.
That's what changed everything.
Well, it makes a lot of sense if you're gonna do a project like this, to not just do a building feasibility study. You need to do a financial feasibility study alongside of that.
Right. Long-term plan.
I think what everybody should see is what Tellish and Wilkes-Barre have.
I think, again, I'm gonna say this, and I know. Yeah, thanks, Trace. I think I would hope to try to address some of these issues. Okay, I mean, we could go on in regard to the operating costs. We can talk about how our experts in the business department showed us the long-term model of keeping 3 high schools in regard to the operating costs of this district. So, I mean, we could go on, and we've said this many times, and to that point, maybe I could address, and maybe I could discuss this with others after this. All right, thank you, sir.
Good job.
First thing I'd like to say, as a debate coach, I'd like to make sure that I have 3 minutes and that the other times that people talk are not counted towards my time. Because I think if we're gonna make people have 3 minutes, it should, when people go on and on, it should.
Then what you should do is do all your questions after you're finished, and any response will come.
Right.
Now start over again. So now that we're laying the ground. Do your piece.
Just like we do with everything else, just stick to the word in the middle of the meeting.
That is great. My first issue is, Mr. Quinn, you did say that Coughlin is not a neighborhood school. And I agree. I'm a proud 1969 Coughlin grad, and I went to Coughlin. And it is not a neighborhood school. But if all the board agrees that neighborhood schools are a preferential model, I wonder if there has been due consideration to putting a school in Plains where it appears our population center is. And it also appears that the busing that talked about for the people that live on the outer limits of the school district would be more beneficial. I don't think that's ever been reviewed. And I guess one of the problems I have with the planning is, I don't know exactly what the answer is for the school district. I graduated from Coughlin, I have 2 kids graduating from Myers, and both my parents met at Myers. There's a long history with the school district, but my concern is that from the public standpoint and from my standpoint, I don't see how things have been considered carefully and how decisions have been made. One of my big concerns, excuse me, is the library situation at all the city schools. Are the libraries presently open? As a debate coach in an area where our students do not have a lot of money, libraries are important to them. I'm concerned that the libraries are closed. I heard that the JR library is closed because there is mold in the shop. And you know, I have a problem with that because I have heard time and time again the school board that presently sits say that the big problems were a lack of stewardship with the people from long ago. It's all because we've had bad school boards in the past. I want to know, did anybody know about this mold? When did people find out about this mold? Mold isn't something I wanna know, and you say you have this master plan, and you're gonna take care of things, and right in the middle of it, we have a school, the school that you wanna keep, that you say is the best, has a mold plan that's going to require closing of a library to have a shop room. I don't understand this. I think that you have to slow down, you people have to do better planning. I think you can't come to meetings when you say, oh, we're considering that, we're considering how we're gonna keep this building, we're considering where we're gonna put kids. Sit in our shoes. Think about it, what it's like for people in the public who sit here and listen time and time again to you say, we don't know, that's in the works. That's in the works. We don't know where we're putting kids. We don't know where we're feeding kids. We have libraries closed. We have mold. We have all this stuff. We submitted a Plan Con A plan. And Mr. Geigers did an amazing article in the Times Leader to show exactly what Plan Con A status is at this point. Those are my questions. And thank you for your attention.
I thought we did a fairly extensive review of several sites within the school district. They're in the feasibility report that was released in December. And we looked at 3 sites in Plains. We looked at the land that we own at the Plains Sawmill property. But in many, as architects or engineers or board members can step in if I say this incorrectly, but we looked at it, we would have to cut the property up. And we would have only been left with, if we put a high school on that site, I think everything except the soccer field, which is all the way to the back side of the building as you're driving out, or the discontinued property, correct, would have remained. So the rest of the property would have cut up. That wasn't something that we thought was an option we wanted to pursue. We did a feasibility study of the KOX property, the discontinued property, and the known as the Oakley's Tagnati property. The cost of the purchase of land and the site development of the KOX property was approximately, without looking at it, around $12 million before a shovel was in the ground. The Tagnati property was more expensive. It was closer to $15 million before we put a shovel in the ground, with a lot of unknowns. And then when, of course, I started to talk about the financial feasibility, but I won't say anything. We looked at our finances and decided that, you know, what could we do with, what could we get the most bang for our buck? And we looked at, once again, the properties that we own, Coughlin and Myers. And that narrowed the focus of the feasibility committee, that narrowed the focus of the task force, the work that they were asked to do. And in the end, based on the information that we had, that was the decision that we made. I'm a little confused, though, about your point about Plains. Are you suggesting or recommending or suggesting that Plains would be the site for a school for Coughlin or for the whole district?
My suggestion, and you know, I don't have all the information. That's one of the problems I have. The problem I have is I don't think everything's been above board and open. People have had a chance to discuss it. This is the best meeting that's been happened so far because people are at least talking more, and I think that's a step in the right direction to open lines of communication. But no, my view, and I'm not an expert in that, is that Plains should have their own neighborhood school. I'm a big believer in neighborhood schools. I think it's important. One of the
last year, I went up, through making calls, and I went up, and I looked in the shop. There is a history of the roof leaking with shop rooms. Previously, because they had a patch that was taken care of. I was called up at the end of the last year to come up and look at it, which I did, and I was very dissatisfied with what I saw. I did see water on the walls. I did see a lot of things that just didn't sit there. So they monitored it. And maybe midsummer, I called Dr. Pratt, and we re-examined it. The principal went up, and we asked to have we asked to close it down for then, until we had an air quality study, which didn't come back very well. So we closed it down. We had to. And in order for us to relocate the shop with all the outlets, it had to be the library. The library is the only place that had all the outlets and computer, Wi-Fi computer equipment we would need for the computers for graphic arts. So until then, it was decided that we would close down the library to both graphic arts students and to the children. But in the meantime, Mrs. Vermont had all the English and reading teachers take all the books that they would need, the children would need, in order to have the resources. If they needed anything else, she directed them. She directed them to go to the library, and if the child requested a certain book, that child would have that book. So right now, it's a temporary thing. I've been told it was a temporary thing. I've been promised it was a temporary thing. But they put the shop room and the library back when it's all finished. But for now, those children can't go into the library because of all the work that they're doing. And also, they can't go into the shop room because of the quality of the air. So right now, we're making arrangements for the roof to be repaired, and whatever mold is in there, and have all that. So right now, this is where it stands. Our first priority are the students. We didn't want them to have any breathing issues. This is why we're doing what we're doing. So that's more or less what we're doing in the library.
And also on the agenda tonight, there's a motion with regard to an engineering study of using masonry preservation services to look at some of the exterior issues at GR, to try to make sure that what issues are there can be nipped in the bud, so that water intrusion issues that unfortunately affect the Coughlin and Myers, they will be stopped at GR.
And Ms. Lewis, I applaud you for going there and checking this out. But my question is, if I had a leak in my house, and it was the first day I saw water, I don't wait 8 months till I decide whether or not there's going to be mold. And frankly, that's my stewardship. Thank you.
That's the maintenance plan.
Ms. Moore, I just wanted to kind of echo just something that you had said about the dialogue that is now happening. So, just over a year or so ago, I made a motion at a board meeting in order to start town hall meetings in each area of the district, so that we could explain what we were trying to do, attempting to do, even if we didn't have the answers. My hope for that was to create what has happened now, because subsequently what has happened is you and this community feel like you were left in the dark, and now you're playing catch up in the last 60 or 90 days to a process that we've been involved with for over a year. So I do agree that we are making steps in the right direction, because clearly there is public outcry to keep neighborhood schools, at least from some of the public. This board, when polled, agrees that neighborhood schools would be preferable, at least in our personal opinions based on research or otherwise. And so I really like the fact that we're discussing it now. I don't think it's ever too late. So that being said, so also with Plains, it has been my contention to have a neighborhood school in Plains. And we're going to talk about cost, and it's going to cost this much more. Projects cost, and there's a price to that cost, or a price to that project. But there could be a greater cost that we pay later from a societal impact, an economic impact. So I don't think that looking at the 3-school model is being negligent or playing fast and loose with taxpayer dollars. I think it's protecting it in the long run. So I just wanted to say thank you for your input, and appreciate your
Next person, President Tim Challenge.
to kind of continue where the last Attorney Borland was with GAR. I know that a lot of money is going to be necessary to make improvements for the mold issues and repairing the library and things like that. And I've heard a lot about the money that's being planned for places like the new Kistler Middle School, Mackin, the consolidated school, obviously. Is there a certain number that's being set aside for GAR? Because the issue that I have there is, I think that did you want to say?
No, go ahead, I'm listening to you.
The consolidated school, I would assume, is going to be built with new supplies, and it's going to probably be state-of-the-art, it's probably going to be really nice. And I think that there's definitely going to be an inequality there for the vast majority of students at GAR that are economically disadvantaged to not have those same luxuries. I feel like, I mean, I know someone earlier, I don't even remember who it was, but mentioned segregation. And that is a strong word, but I kind of feel like that's what it's. The other thing that I wanted to say was the site that was chosen for the consolidated school. Seems to be a pretty small site. I know that numbers were thrown out for different planning things that say, for the number of students we need 35 acres or some crazy large amount of land. And I agree that that might not necessarily be reasonable, but 3 acres, I feel, for the number of students that are being packed in there is pretty small. And my question to you is, are you considering the fact that elementary enrollment right now is on the rise? And do you have ideas for the projected enrollments in the future and the inability to move once you put a giant school on a tiny little lottery? And the last thing was just more of, I don't necessarily expect an answer, but there was the statement before that there are safety concerns with overcrowded buses, as well as Mr. Quinn's comments about kids that are further away from the school and don't come to the school. So why are we eliminating all prospects of walking students? And that's it.
What was the first question?
It was kind of, I guess it was multi-parted, but basically, are we going to address, is there money set aside to improve GAR to the same standard as the new consolidated?
Very honestly, the figure that is being thrown out is $20 million. But let me say what we've done this past week. And there is, when the schools started to show their signs of wear, one of the things, and again, I'll address this, was the idea of a development of a facilities master plan, maintenance plan to address the rest of the facilities in this district. Having said that, that's exactly what we tried to do, is put this into motion. So right now, very honestly, we are, and I just met last week with Paulo and our maintenance and custodial staff to evaluate, and maybe even use the word triage, some of our buildings, which has not been done in the past, as Councilor Borland said. But we're trying to take the initiative. This has been the issue at Myers and Coffman, has put up the warning signs that, wait a minute, to the point, GAR, unless we do something and address the maintenance, which GAR is a top priority for our maintenance plan, has to be addressed now. So we started that process. It's not only the idea of the board-approved consolidated school, it's the idea to address all the facilities in this district. Never been done in this district, so we are playing catch-up. Absolutely, without question.
Is there any money?
As an example,
Go ahead, please.
No. The roof on this building and the roof on Flood were replaced within the last year as a result of the board being proactive. Do something before catastrophic, and when I say catastrophic, I don't mean like the building's going to collapse, but a roof failure which allows intrusion of water to come into the building to prevent that, so that you can't do everything all at once, but you got to figure out what needs to be done first and try to do it in that order. And that's what they're trying to do.
So there is no money for
That
GAR.
absolutely makes sense, and I'm very glad to hear that. My concern is that we don't just save the roof, and we don't just prevent leaks, and we don't just do this from a cheapest standpoint. My that we address this from an educational standpoint, and that we make sure that every single student in the district has the exact same luxuries, for lack of a better word, and the exact same accessibility to anything educational that they may need. So I would really like to see that be at the forefront of the plan. While we do need roofs, and we do need windows, and we do need masonry, we just need to look at it educationally as well, and I guess that's it.
Educationally an opportunity.
Thanks.
Because so education be the same as one thing opportunity, so if you consolidate, you can take opportunity away. So you might increase, but in theory, well, no, you would. There are definitely certain aspects where you would take opportunities away. That's not, they're gonna consolidate.
Not academically.
I said opportunity. I didn't say just educationally. I said educationally and opportunity. And opportunity is huge because it's not just about kids getting an A on a test. It's about their entire experience through school and what they learn outside of a classroom, as well as inside of the classroom. And opportunities are something that our kids need more of, not less of. You can't put a price tag on that opportunity, in my estimation.
Your last two concerns, relatively similar issues, but taking into consideration growth projections for the district, absolutely. At every meeting we had with the feasibility committee and the design committee of the professionals took into consideration PDE projections for the district, as well as our own projections for the district based upon anecdotal what's occurring in the district now, what do we foresee. So the idea is to try to do something that will allow us to grow. That's number one. And number two, if we look at the sites, clearly the site works for the building we're talking about. We've got professional consultants.
States about whether there's kids at GAR would be cheated because of the new school, the facilities, the technology. You know, that has to be driven by us. Those kids deserve the same things that the kids are coughing at. The technology, the rooms might be older, maybe the desks will be older, but the technology and the course offerings and all of that stuff have to be the same.
Absolutely.
My question is fairly simple. Why do you not have, why does Wilkes-Barre not have comprehensive facilities and educational master plan that works 30 years in the future? Mr. Borland said 5 years. I think it's more important to look 30 years into the future. I'm happy to hear that you now have a master maintenance plan and sort of we know from the studies that were done by the professionals that serious deterioration in Myers and Hoffman for years and years and years and years. So it's heartening to hear that you have a master maintenance plan now, and I hope that you fund it. But my question is, you spent a great deal of time gathering data on all of the sites, Hoffman, Myers, Plains, and I think it's good data. But, and I don't mean any disrespect, but every one of you here has an opinion. Everyone out here has an opinion. I have an opinion. Are they good opinions? Maybe. Are they not so good opinions? Maybe. From my point of view, it would have been very helpful. And on the Sunday when we had a meeting at Genetics, I talked about the Mount Lebanon plan, where they took, they hired a master planner, okay, independent. He worked for 3 years, with the community. So all these folks, from Hoffman, from Myers, from GAR, from Kistler, from everybody would have had an opportunity, state their opinion. And the master plan, that facility from Jean, they would have digested that, they would have made recommendations to you, okay? And all of the questions, or virtually all of the questions that you guys are struggling with right now would have been answered, because the community would have had input, you guys would have had input. We might come up with the same solution that you came up with, that we're gonna build a new school at Conklin, and the folks who are consolidated school, but and the folks who are in favor of neighborhood schools would have held their nose and said, okay, at least there was a study, at least it was fair. Okay? Right now, we're feeling that, again, there's a lot of diverse opinions here, and I don't see, I don't know what the conversations were, but I do know that the feasibility committees, okay, had 3 months of conversations. Not very good conversations, but okay. The community had no ability to be part of that.
Oh, you're the task
No,
force.
the task force. I was on the external committee. Okay, I had 3 months. Okay?
That's fine.
Pardon?
That's fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Really?
Think of all the things that you said, and going back to the study, the 3-year study. I don't think we have 3 years to make a decision. It's Coughlin. We need a school. And Myers isn't that far behind based on the information that we have. But I really want to get into the thing about the task force.
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
With all due respect, you guys knew what, the studies that I'm talking about, nature preservation services, go back 6 or 7 years. Okay? There was, clear signs things were falling apart.
May I interject, sir? Those studies, very honestly, I was not made aware of until our construction manager, and I'm saying this, raced into my office and said, we have an issue at Coughlin High School. And then he pulled out, very honestly, and he wasn't, I don't believe, aware of it as well, talking the studies of 2004, 6, and so on. So I was not aware of the studies and the maintenance that had been done. So when you say, with all due respect, that we were aware of these, I was not aware of them, and I'm being very candid. Of those studies of 04 and 06.
May I respond?
Yes, sir.
With all due respect to everyone here, I don't know anyone who has walked through Coughlin or Myers in the last 10 years and not said, what the hell's going on?
I've been walking through those schools, and that's where I made my decision. I walked through Coughlin, and then when I'd be embarrassed when somebody from the outside of the system should go through that school. It's a shame.
It is, and the real shame is that it's been,
It's a
we all
mess.
have opinions, okay, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they've been deteriorating for years and years and years and years, okay? From my point of view, as an architect, maintenance starts on day one.
You're absolutely
To build a new school, you better have a maintenance plan to keep it up.
Absolutely.
I agree. Mr. Wilkes, just a couple things. One, I started talking about the task force. There's a million things going through my mind as you're speaking that I'd like to address. And one of the things I want to say is that somebody said before that it's been very convenient for members of this board to blame the actions or inactions of past board members. Honestly, I haven't really heard a lot of that, and that's not anything that I have ever done. When I'm accused of something that happened when I wasn't on the board, I don't mind saying that I wasn't on the board then. But I don't see the point in pointing fingers at some things that didn't happen whenever they didn't happen. This is where we're at right now. In regard to the task force, that was something that a lot of time was put into. And, the 3 months, I know that you were soured by the experience. The internal and external task force recommendations for pros and cons were considered, and they were considered during the process. process, there was dialogue. As chair of the committee, I was in touch with the chairpersons of each of those committees often. Members of the committee spoke to myself and other members of the board, so we had a fairly good idea of the things that were going on within those groups, and I felt good about it. I was a little concerned at the beginning of the process, and to be very honest with you, it came to my attention that the members of the external task force had received a letter or an email of I don't know, one or the other, by a member of the community announcing the plan that he wanted that group to pursue. Before the external task force had meetings, this group of individuals had received from someone not selected for that committee their vision of what the school district should do with, the different attachments and all that. That caused a little concern from our part that there was no, that maybe there would be no discovery process, that there was an influence there from the outside. I hope it didn't happen. I heard all the things. I know we asked you to look at other sites, and we heard those things. I know there was conversations about the building in Murray. I know that there was the land that the post office is in. I mean, we were aware of all that. We were talking about that all the time and trying to see if any of that would work for us. So I would hope that you understand that we considered it very, very important. If we didn't agree with you, it didn't mean we didn't respect the work that you did.
I understand that. I understand that, and I understand how hard all of you work. Again, everyone has an opinion. Everyone here has a personal opinion. Everyone here's got a personal tie. Myers, Poplar, Plains, J.R. Okay? So, what I ask respectfully is, you have an opportunity now to sit tight for a little while. Consider hiring a planning consultant to education and facility, master plan, okay, that engages the whole community, okay, and see where they come up.
Next is Mr. Frank Sorg, who'd like to speak about the ever popular stuff. With 3 minutes, I don't know. Let's hope I can get through this stuff.
Yeah, I got the Eagles are losing. Thanks for the update. Here's another update. Wilkes-Barre taxpayers are being screwed by this board once again. All right. I'm in shock. I didn't bring my hip waders to the meeting. I should have, because the lie spewing from this side of the table is reprehensible. Mr. Quinn, I'm sorry I have to pick on you. You stated in this same meeting that you did not say that planes would not come to South Wilkes-Barre. You said that to me at Kmart, sir. You are, in fact, a liar. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I can get my wife on speakerphone. She was there if you want. At any rate, I digress. We have a lot of issues going on here. We have our Dr. Prev here stating to one citizen's questions that there's no problem with the heating system at Coughlin, or he isn't aware of it. I'm not sure his exact quote. And in another statement, Mr. Caffrey states that part of the reason would be the heating system at Coughlin. He said to the very next speaker. I got that. Speaker 1 and 2.
You misunderstood.
I mistaken.
You don't got to be a plug with you, do you?
I probably misunderstood at Kmart too, so perhaps that's part of the issue. I'm sure I did. I mean, again, with the amount of double talk coming from this board, I have a hard time keeping up. I'm a simple guy who went to grade school through 5th grade, and then middle school through 8th grade, and then graduated to mechanic high class of 91. So I do apologize, Faye, and I didn't come to the same conclusions that you all did when it comes to truth bending. I apologize. But at any rate,
That's true.
you're interrupting my time, so I would like a few extra seconds here, because again, I'm only given 3 minutes. But I've heard a lot of people ask simple yes or no questions. Like the one lady who asked, are we to which I gathered from your explanation back and forth, and it was the solicitor. Now, I understand solicitors do double talk a lot, that's their job, but I don't expect that from the people we elect. I just don't. If someone asks a yes or no question, did you make a statement in public? And the answer is yes. By all means, say yes. Don't bounce around it. I just don't get it. I mean, Mr. Elmy, you could very well wind up being our next city council meeting. You're going to hear a lot from me as a city council member.
You might hear a lot from me.
Exactly. Well,
The other way around.
well, and that's fine, but again, if people are asking questions, it's because we're very concerned. At one meeting, a few meetings ago, I asked what the additional buses would be after consolidation. I never got an answer to that, but I'm guesstimating here because for lack of information from this board, we're going to need roughly about 15 additional buses, and that doesn't include practice. I assume we're not putting a stadium on the roof of the new school, right? We're going to keep that at Myers. So for practice, we're going to have to bus our football team back to Myers for practice daily, and that doesn't account for that. I'm just talking about transporting the roughly 1,000 Myers students to the new North End school. We're going to need roughly about 15 buses at $57,000 a bus. We got that tonight from Dr. Krebs. I'm very grateful for that answer. That was one of my questions that went unanswered, but tonight we got it. And I know my time is up. Bro, I'm going to get this out before you cut me off, because you cut me off once before. $780,000 additional bus costs. How much are we spending on buses, and what are we actually saving on the consolidation plan? Nothing.
That was brought up about the transportation out there, you know, that was at JR. It would be $240,000.
Based on old numbers.
That's what people are.
How many buses?
That would be up to them to determine.
It's about 15. At 52,000. Is my math off? 715 times 52 isn't 780? Again, Tunkhannock High. Huh? They have one, but again, the district doesn't contain as many students that come to this district. You're quiet, city council.
We know you put them all in the office, or you put them all in jobs.
Find that out too. There's lots of minutes, find out.
Hi, my name is Zachary Benson.
Hi, Zach.
Alright, my name is, again, Zach Benzak, and I'm the
Ian.
president of the Coffin Drama Club.
Ian.
I'm here speaking
I'm
on
up
behalf
next.
of the club and
I'm
our
up next,
directors
I think.
Lions who cannot be here tonight on the matter of possibility of combining GAR Myers and Coffin Drama Club this coming year, due to the fact that Coughlin stage will not be operable after the old building closes.
Sorry.
Anyone who has, well, first off, I want to say thank you for having things like this to let the people and the students speak to all of you about any pressing issues. Anyone who has seen a Coffin production will be able to tell you that our shows are above all other high school productions. The entire club collectively takes great pride in being a part of this drama club. The Coffin Drama Club this year had 47 students sign up to be a part of this club, which is the most that we've seen in several years. The entire student body is well aware that this very well may be the last year of Coffin High School. In which case, the Coffin players really want this last year that we can call our production a Coffin Players production. The state of Coughlin is already in disarray. Halfway through the year, Coughlin is going to be functioning with less than half the school, and this is an unfortunate situation already. Already having half our drama club at Mackin will make for a challenging rehearsal process the way it is. The sports teams have not yet combined with GAR as Myers, nor have the cheerleaders or the band members. In the current state of all the schools, we are well aware that combining is inevitable. In the future, our drama club will be very willing to open any members from GAR or Myers with open arms. All the Coughlin players want for this year, in the last year of Coughlin, to have one last year of the Coughlin players to put on a production. And for all of you, I have letters from multiple members of our drama club just stating why we want to have one last year as Coughlin players. And that's what
address your concerns, Zach. There was, among the secondary principals, some talk of consolidation of drama clubs. This was not, in fact, brought to the board for approval. So, has this been finalized? Absolutely. You are absolutely correct. The stage at Coughlin will demand a lot of money invested into a school that will not be functioning as of the second semester. Having said that, you're going to have to utilize, as a member of the Coughlin Drama Club, the facility up at GAR.
Yes, we are aware.
So, the thought process was, because, and we will check into this, we will survey GAR. The thought process was to survey GAR High School and find out how many students are interested in a drama club, because we were told that there are not too many. So, if Coughlin is going to utilize as their drama club next year, GAR facilities, the thought process was to allow those who are interested in GAR to join that drama club. Myers, stage fine, they will be conducted in the same place alone. I believe this is the consensus of the board. We will survey to see if there's a need to in fact, have their own drama. So, everything you came tonight, well spoken. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I did bring it to this board's attention prior to the meeting, and this is where we are with this. As it stands right now, Myers will be separate from Coughlin, and we will be surveying the student body at GAR to see of an interest.
Why don't you start the relationship with Myers?
Thank you very much.
First thing I want to address, you were saying that you were ignorant of those, a study from a few years ago. That's your fault that you missed that study.
Is it really?
Yes.
When I'm not the superintendent at the time?
You were the assistant.
And Mr. M, you said that you walked into Coughlin and that was an embarrassment. How long have you been in office?
I didn't say when, I said I walked into it.
But it didn't just get bad, like, you know what I mean?
I didn't go to school, I was at GAR.
Yes, but you walked through there and
Yes, I did.
You're a school board
When
member.
my first year as school board, I walked through it, not only once, but we walked through it, we had to, we walked through every school each month.
Well, why wouldn't you make that a top priority then if you were embarrassed walking? But that's all I wanted to say about that. I wanted to address the inequality that could happen if you combined schools, because what's going to happen is, what's GAR going to get? We're not going to get any shiny new things like that. We're not going to get any new classrooms, or I don't even think you guys have money in it to update it. Is the education process going to be updated, or are you just going to update the roofs in the building and you're going to have the same kind of education? Well, everybody else, most of the people who don't even live in the Wilkes-Barre city area are going to get the nice new shiny school, and the kids on the hill, and whoever you guys decide to send up to GAR gets a lot less, it gets nothing. That's all I have to say. I'll sit here for a minute.
I think I said before, John, I don't think GAR is going to get less. I think they're going to get the same education, and the kids are talking about that new school is going to be, they'll get the same thing. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the building's not older. I'm not going to say that the classrooms might not be older, but certainly the technology and the education and the course offerings will be the same.
Are they going to update the labs, like the first floor labs? Like when I was there, they looked like they were from the 60s.
That's one of the things that I think they have on the short list right now.
But if you're going to do that, you need to overhaul a lot of the things in the building just to keep it up with the school that's downtown, because the brand new school is going to get everything new. How much is it going to cost to basically bring GAR up to the same level of education as they're going to have down at the new school?
Well, certainly it's not going to be as much as the new school. It's not going to cost, obviously. Renovations go on year by year at any school. I can't say for sure. I know that the short list was renovated, labs and biology last year. I don't know if we did it, they're in the process of doing it.
When is the last time they were actually updated here? The labs?
Probably in 1979.
Because when I was there, none of that stuff worked, and you were there as well. And none of those things Like they had those gas speakers and all that. None of that stuff ever worked. I've never seen any of that stuff ever turn on in those labs. And
I'm told that the chemistry labs, they did. The other labs, maybe for junior high kids, and I appropriated for junior high kids.
John, I heard my solution is that we
but why? So you.
But in the meantime,
15 years, the kids are going to get screwed.
In the meantime, my thought is to put the money. We have to put the money into the safety of these kids. It's the safety of kids. I wanted that school, or I want that school built up to eventually bring those kids down. I think it's going to be eventually.
How many years kids are going to get left on the side and not have the same equal education?
If it is, I'm hoping it's just a short period of time.
So it's acceptable for at least for a short period of time for us to have an unequal education in the city. That's what you just said. You said that for a short time that we're going to have some kind of equality.
But when I'm saying, no, I want to answer. What I'm saying is, if hopefully they'll all be brought down at the same time. Not it's a short. If it is a short, it's only.
So is there a plan in there to change this from combining the two schools to combining them all then?
No, I'm hoping this board's not the motion.
I know that's the motion, but he's alluding to it.
This board members spoke. That the kids from GAR will get the same education as the Coffin and Michael. It's only fair. My prediction also is those kids, once this building is built, and they see this beautiful and the technology and where it's like, parents up the hill are going to want.
They're going to have to. You guys have forced them into that decision because you're not going to give them the same kind of product there that they're going to have down at the middle.
There'll be a fire code violation.
So it's all like for a short amount of time.
Education. You don't have the money to bring them down. Next is Dr. Holland. Dr. Holland, you're on deck, and as is with most doctors, I can't read your handwriting as far as your topic, but I'm sure you'll write the topic.
We had talked before. I think this is a very productive meeting. One of the things that bothers me before I get started, I've had a number of meetings with some of you, I've met with the superintendent. This district has all of the components needed for a master plan. Everything is there. You gotta get it together. You gotta make it public. Because when you go to Harrisburg, whatever plan you decide, you better have it. I've been through it. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is not master planning. I think we've done that to death, but it's got to be done. And I'll tell you what, we don't have the staff to do it. I've done a lot of master plans for a lot of districts, and none of them have the manpower needed to do what needs to be done. What I'm going to share with you is my frustration. First of all, I have worked with consolidated schools. Some work, some don't. I have worked with neighborhood schools. Some work, some don't. Okay? What's inside? What's inside it makes it work. It's the leadership that makes it work. Now, I have a major concern, and I want to share this concern with you. When I worked in Harrisburg, this is something I didn't read about. This is something that I witnessed. Harrisburg School District went out and did a study, a costing study. They determined that they needed a high school, a large high school. They tore down a building. The architects designed the building at a cost of $1.2 million. That was the design, head specs, equipment specs, putting it out for bid. Tore down the building. I think it was a middle school. Some people said it was high school. I think it was a middle school. They tore down the school. They then found out that they couldn't build on that site because it was an Indian burial ground. Now, I am not saying that that's going to happen here. I just want the board to be absolutely sure that they can build a Coughlin. Only my opinion. Only my opinion. I've been in construction. I've built schools. Worked as a consultant. I don't think it's possible to build a school on Washington Street from 2,000 students. I may not be right. You have your experts that say it can be done. I don't think it can. That's why I'm bringing to you the Harrisburg situation. Make damn sure that you got it right, because you're already in close to $750,000. You're already into the design of the school that you may not be able to build. Now here is the worst part of this story, and then I'll let you go. The worst part of the story is that the board in executive session said, no problem, we'll take our prints and we'll build elsewhere. AIA contract says, no, you can't do that. It belongs to the architects. Lastly, and I was there when this happened, God, you don't want this to happen here. The district went into receivership, and the mayor, who is now indicted for $499,000, took over the school district. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Doctor.
Sandy Troyan, signed in to talk about child care transportation.
Thanks for letting me come and speak tonight. This is my first time ever coming to one of these meetings, and all I can say is, wow. I was not prepared for any of this. What I wanted to say is, we've been with Callan House Daycare for 21 years, my family. It's a small daycare. My children are in National Honor Society. My grandchildren are extremely smart. It's small. They take that extra time to teach them. My grandson went to kindergarten. We had kindergarten orientation, and he was given a bus name tag. He was getting the bus Blackman Prospect Street. First day of school comes, there's no bus for him. My daughter, she, as most of you know her, she's a young mother. She can't get support from the father legally. He doesn't have to support that child. So she has to do that all on her own. She's going to college. The courses that she's taking to make a life for her daughter, she has to take these morning classes. These morning classes start before the bus would come for her to go to school. So, I don't understand. I pay taxes, my daughter pays taxes, my son pays taxes. So we're saying that it's not fair to the taxpayers, but we're taxpayers. The daycare is only a couple streets from my house. So why can't my kids, my grandkids, not my kids, my grandkids, get on that bus? We've done it for all these years. And at the beginning of the school year, we were gonna do it because he was all proud. He was riding the big yellow bus and he's got that name tag on. And it says Prospect and Blackman Street. He's standing out there waiting for a bus and we don't have the bus. We shouldn't have to go across town when we're in the same school district. We're only a couple streets away. We pay the taxes. My daughter pays, my son pays, my daughter-in-law pays the taxes. Why can't our kids take that bus to school? That's my question.
Again, we've attempted to try to answer that question about the subsidy.
I know, but you said that's not fair to the taxpayers, but we are taxpayers.
Yeah, we cannot, I get it, believe me. I have a daughter who's a single parent who relies on the same situation yours does. Believe me. And it's not the same. We get what you're saying. That's fine. The bottom line is, the idea that this district has made a point, even prior to this school year, to not allow, because the crowding of buses because of these days, careful, we have no obligation to do so. But in order to be fair, I think Attorney Wondolowski and I will meet with the specific owner that was here to talk about the situation.
Okay, I mean, I was told before I walked up here, it just was visibly in my ear, that the decision was already made, that all that gotten together and now.
This decision was made a year ago. The issue
Well,
with that,
well,
with your
then
specific.
why did they give him a bus tag saying that he could take that bus during orientation? Why did they, James Seaman?
Who gave?
Peterson. Kevin Seaman, his mother. She should really be one up here.
My son was the dachshund. At orientation, in registration, they marked him down for counting on us prospect and laughing. Knowing I live about 4 blocks away on South Sherman. I wasn't even notified yet by the school that he can't take the bus. The bus just didn't
In regard to the daycare situation?
Yes, they marked him down on the bus.
Okay.
For the daycare. In front of me and his father.
Who, the district did?
The school at orientation.
Dachshund did at
That's my
orientation.
concern.
I don't know, very candidly, I don't know why that was done, maybe a miscommunication of sorts. That should not have been done.
But that's
Again,
what I
again, we gave 1 year to the owner to address the bus situation with the daycare, and where very honestly, other daycares didn't have a year.
But it's not even that, but if our children, we live in that district, we live there,
So-
we're paying taxes.
So do those
Why-
kids, so do the kids from the other ones too.
Right, so but if they're living there, we pay taxes, how is it not fair to the taxpayers? I don't get that. We're paying the taxes, our kids should be able to go to school.
I get that, I get it. We don't have to, again, man, I'll talk to Attorney Wondolowski, we'll meet with the owner to discuss situations, but understand, we have no obligations to a daycare. If they want, again.
But what about an obligation to a child that's going for education?
That's right, but right now, though, it's for profit, the daycare, so it's really the daycare's responsibility. They are making money off of you. So that's their
Perhaps.
responsibility
So
to
let's
transport
punish the
those
child.
kids.
Man, before we go any
No.
further, perhaps, we're not trying to punish each other.
Not at all.
We're trying to be fiscally responsible too. The key issue too is, and I thought Attorney Wondolowski brought it out in this conversation, was the idea that there may be a possibility of STA providing or working with the daycare and contracting out regarding names. So that's an option. We'll look at these options for you. We appreciate you coming this evening. Thank you.
The next person who signed in was Ian Hughes, who'd like to speak.
I don't know.
First thing I'm gonna ask you guys, Mr. Caffey, earlier you spoke about the plain sight as Mrs. Boyle was speaking about potential building there, you said it was too small. Do you know the acreage of it? It's bigger than 2.364 acres, we can say that, right? Somehow we're gonna squeeze everyone into this? Under the White House site?
It's bigger than what?
It's bigger than 2.364 acres, is that correct?
I think that what I said was that to put a building there would pretty much take away everything that exists there now, cut everything up, including, there's a baseball field there, there's a football practice field, there's a track there. All
We
of
have
that.
this throughout the city that they can use. I mean, the Myers kids go down by the dike to play soccer, they go down to the dike to play baseball.
I answered your question.
You answer that one? Is there a place they can go?
About the Myers
Is there
kids
another
going to
place
play
they can
baseball
go?
on the dike?
We're down by the dike, that is a baseball field. Christian Canadian kids, they're down there, correct? They're not on site. So we can get rid of the soccer field for the schools, what I'm saying. There are other soccer fields in this area, correct?
I'm not sure what your point is.
The point is that 2.364 acres is too small. You're saying that the plain site should be bigger.
Well,
I didn't say it was too small. We said that we have to cut the whole property. There's a campus that's existing. There's a fully functional, educational, athletic campus there with a field house and everything. So to put a high school there, we would lose most of that. It's at the field.
Fields.
That would be our place.
Right. Now, you said earlier, you said something to the effect that, I won't quote you, I don't know your exact words, but I'm just gonna ask you a question. Are there any studies that the overall academic performance is better for consolidated schools than smaller schools? Where are they? Please show us the information. showing nothing, there's no transparency, guys.
Well, I disagree. I think I want to say something. First of all, this is the first time tonight I felt like I'm being cross-examined. And it's really not fun.
It isn't.
It's fair to ask questions, but I just want to say that. Now, I've heard different people say, make their points tonight, yours too, about the studies, this, that, and the other. This will come down to philosophy versus economics. I may have said that publicly before.
I wouldn't
Philosophically, we...
Not on education.
Education.
Right, and we have borrowing power, you stated this earlier, correct?
I'm sorry,
We borrow money.
We have limited borrowing power.
Limited.
We have limited borrowing power, and we have operational costs that are growing. One example, one thing I know, and you can believe it or not, the school district has an obligation to contribute to the pension fund every year. At the end of the 2013 school year, I believe that the school district's pension obligation at that time was around 12%. This year, for the 2015-16 school year, it's, I believe, between 24 and 25%. And at the end of this decade, it goes to 32. That's just one cost of ours that increases. And it's, you know, it's not a little number. And the other things that go on in the operate in my school. I hear Reverend Walker when he talks about opportunities, and I have to say that he's not the only one that thinks that opportunities are important. But once again, it comes down to how do we pay for these things? That's if you're on any kind of board, I think that has to be part of the conversation when we're making plans. Is how do we pay for things? And our business department has advised us continuously that if we don't do anything, if we continue on the path, if we do nothing, build nothing, stop right now, as many people are asking us, that we will still be in trouble. So we're trying to find a way to get to the future. It's not about saving our schools. It is, but I think it's really also maybe a different place, saving our district. I think that's, to me as a school director, something that is very important. I was at Myers when you were there. There is no one that could say that they love Myers more than I do. I worked in that building for 21 years. And I have great memories and great relationships and met some of the best students that any guidance counselor could ever meet. And I will always value that. And this is not easy for me or any member of this board. But we have to ask the question, how are we going to continue to run these schools? And even if we were to try to fix them, which seems to be very cost prohibitive at this point based on the studies that we have, how are we going to pay for these things? That's the question. It's not even a $100 million question. It's the future of the district.
Mr. Catherine, that's my first. I'm sitting here, and you know how this would work? So you had all these people involved from the beginning, and I'll bet anybody if you said we have to raise taxes and we have our neighborhood schools, or raise taxes and do what you are doing. And if you would have consulted us, we would have our taxes raised, and nobody wants to do that. But we could go along with it if you were doing what you're supposed to do.
Unfortunately, I have to go with my mother.
The last person who signed in was Attorney Rod Kaiser.
No, unfortunately, I'm going to continue. I don't stop.
Rod Kaiser, please.
Mr. Catherine said he was in the school district for 21 years. He taught at Myers. How long have you been on the board?
All right. You're gonna be thrown out.
That's all right. I will walk out.
We're trying to be respectful here.
Respectful.
I am respectful.
You had an opportunity.
You had an opportunity to sign it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a resident of Southwold Area, and I'm concerned about my neighborhood. I'm assuming that since Myers is falling down, you're going to tear it down. So my first question is, do you have any plans for the Myers site? Is that a no?
You want us to answer as you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
We want you to stop the clock.
For the
Hotel Sterling, that's gonna be on the Myers site.
Likely.
The Hotel Sterling.
Right, exactly.
But, this board member feels that I will not let myself, South Wilkes-Barre people, what would happen. I won't do it. I will not say it's going to be an apartment building. I am not going to say it's going to be torn down. I'm not going to say goodbye, see you later, South Wilkes-Barre. That, in my opinion, in my vote, will be viable, something that we will be proud of. I'm hoping it's going to be a athletic that will eliminate the field right there. Something that South Wilkes-Barre people will be proud of.
Let me ask you this. My understanding is the Coughlin site was selected because the cost was greater to build a new high school on the Myers site, and that was largely due to the water table and the foundation work would be required. How much more would it cost? If you know, how much more would it cost to build a high school on Myers, the Myers site, as opposed to the Coughlin site? $5 to $7 million.
What?
Was any consideration given to putting the middle school on the Myers site?
No. This guy's.
Is that something that might be considered, or is it too far in the planning process?
But you still have similar issues with regard to foundations.
But you have those same issues on the Coughlin district school site too.
Hasn't been asked for now.
You want to address that? Our team is going to be addressing that.
The addition proposed for Kistler takes advantage of a lot of existing infrastructure. There's existing utilities, existing.
Myers has that.
Drop off, existing cafeteria, existing art, music suites, office suites, things like that. That would not need to be replicated. It's constructed as a standalone facility. You would need to add all of it.
How much is that supposed to add all that up?
Well, you would increase the square footage, you probably double the size.
Double the size.
Well, when you consider if it's adding cafeteria, library, those would be.
And lastly, was it, can anybody consider attaching maybe to the new addition, whatever we built, the administrative offices for the school district, so we can some of the online building to the new construction?
Yeah. The new construction?
Yeah.
Very briefly, but not really, to be honest with you, Ron. And again, finance is coming.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thanks, Ron. Very honestly, I had every intention of reading a statement that addressed a lot of these questions, but I think they were addressed this evening. So I don't want to pay for the same real estate twice. The one thing that I would address, and it's been coming up again and again, is the master plan of education. And I will read that one component. It says, the issue of a master plan regarding education is a term that has been used quite a bit over the last several months and may be misunderstood. This district, along with every public school district in the state of Pennsylvania, is required to present every 3 years a comprehensive plan that charts out and follows a course of action and planning in order to address the Common Core curriculum that the state now requires. This planning process is a continuous process that has to be updated for acceptance by the state. Besides, this district also addresses the need for students to be literate from birth. It is our master literacy plan. These master plans that we follow, that we will continue to follow and update as mandated by the state, along with the course of studies and various curriculum guides are what we have in place. The other questions, if there were some questions, I will in fact, I'll address them after the meeting. Mr. Wilson, I'd be glad to meet with you. Okay, sorry.
I'd like to hear your whole speech.
Reports on the LIU.
Next meeting is September 23rd at 6:30 at the LIU.
Next meeting is next Monday, the 21st, 5:30 executive session, 6:30 regular meeting.
Thank you. Reports on the committees. Curriculum, Mr. Guella.
President, members of the Wilkes-Barre School Board, the curriculum administration, with respect to the school's following recommendation, listed in the agenda for month 8. C and C, now that one in the school district.